Today's video is all about limiting yourself in focal length, and I'm going to limit myself to that. Now, I've got to stress, this is not a choice. It's because I smashed my lens. I was coming out a couple of mornings ago for sunrise. I was rushing and I hadn't done my bag up properly, and it fell out onto the tarmac. There was this crash. I thought, oh fuck, what's that? It was this camera with my 12 to 40 2.8 lens on. I picked it up expecting the absolute worst. Somehow the camera seems to have survived, but the lens didn't. Yeah, it's going to cost a few quid, so that's going to be going back to Olympus as soon as I get home. And talking of home, this is very likely my last day in the motorhome for this trip. I haven't done that many miles around the area, and I've spent a good few days actually just sat in here moping. You see, even not just going out, going out for the idea of photography doesn't always guarantee that I'm going to go out. And I didn't bring probably enough clothing with me, so a lot of my clothing is far more kind of summer clothes rather than wet weather gear, because I didn't really look at the longer range forecast, so I've had probably 3 or 4 days of rain. I don't know how waterproof this is, because the very first day that I went out I did get caught in a rain shower. Just life. I'm going to go out and I'm going to work primarily with this. I do have a wider angle lens on my my EM3. Sorry, EM10 Mark III. But I've got to be honest that this is, it's not very good by comparison to the other lens that I've lost. But I'll take it with me because I've got it. Gassing on for a little bit too long, I'm going to go for a walk. So I've parked in this spot a good few times before, and over in the distance there's a few trees, maybe 3 or 4. They look great on the landscape, but I've only ever photographed them from up at that parking point. I wanted to get closer. So the question on your lips, I'm sure, is how am I going to be able to take landscape photos with only a great big telephoto lens? Well, I'm hoping the answer is quite easy. You'll appreciate it if you watch the channel on a semi-regular basis, and if you don't, what's wrong with you? There's a subscribe button down there, don't you know? Anyway, yes, you'll realise that I use the long lens. You'll excuse the puffing and panting. This is uphill after all. Yeah, I prefer to use the long lens for landscape in many cases, in any case. So I think the restriction in terms of can I cope is more a mental one of loss of the other one, the other lens, and of concern over the cost of repair. But I can't pretend that not having the wide angle has stopped me doing something. You see, I was going to drive to Wyoming Brook and get some shots of the cascades that run along this wonderful waterway. It's quite a close environment at Wyoming Brook. Not being able to get foreground in because of not having a good wide angle, I've chosen to just not do it for the time being, which is a shame because it's a wonderful, wonderful place. But yeah, it has been a restriction. And look at me, I'm absolutely drenched. Already I'm about to completely give way on this idea of limiting myself to the long lens, because this scene here is just lovely. It really is. I'm pretty certain that the 40 to 150 will not do this job for me, because I need to capture the fence, the colour of the gorse and the heather. I need to capture some detail of the fence and the gate, and I really need to be quite a way behind where you are as a camera right now, I think, to kind of get that. And of course the leading line of the path going through and over. So I may need a little height on this, but I definitely need a wide angle. So that lasts a long while, doesn't it? This thing's so light with this dinky lens on it. I don't want this wall to topple, so I'm not going to get very close to that. It's got quite a bow in that. So maybe here. Pull back a little. Oh, it's not bad. Get my focal point on the gate. I'm running at f9. I've got to say, I don't use this lens a great deal now, so its performance is less known to me. I did shoot a couple the other morning on it, and I was quite surprised at how soft the focus was in some areas. I'm not sure whether that was down to diffraction or what, so I am being careful. I can't remember what the aperture was, but I would need to look at the focal points and such and work out why the sheep in question isn't quite sharp. Might have been me, might have been the lens, but I'm wary. It's actually quite a nice day for this as well. I mean, whilst it's a blue sky day, there is cloud up there, and it's nice and bright, and the sun's behind me, so I'm not getting too harsh a light. Underexposed by a third of a stop there, so we get some bit more detail just here in it. Shot 2, and I'm doing very well with that long lens. I was going to restrict myself to. As you can see, this is incredibly precarious. I mean, yeah, very precarious. I ought not really leave it unattended. I've got my way to this tree, or this group of trees, and I've realised that actually the kind of location and the setting that they're in will make a long shot actually rather difficult, because up there it's up, so I'm going to end up looking down on it, which probably isn't really what I wanted to do. I probably want to look up, and therefore to probably get a kind of up looking shot on it at a distance, I'm going to need to be down by the wall. I'm not sure I can get down there, or I'm going to need to be down on that road somewhere down there and get a shot in the distance of it there. And I think that's troublesome as well. So I don't know whether I'm going to get such things. I might just dig out one of the shots I've got from the motorhome that I've taken, which you may be able to see as a speck up there, which is where we've parked before, and I've got shots of it coming looking down. And I may well do that again, because this hill here that it's set against is rather purple with heather, and it's rather nice. Otherwise, I'm looking out onto the valley, which I don't know whether that's the setting I wanted either. But having said that, I mean, there's not, from where I've walked already, there's not a lot of kind of shots that will obviously work for it relatively close to it. So maybe I was wrong. Maybe just scouting it has turned up the fact that it's actually not that great a setting. It's a lovely group of trees, don't get me wrong, and there's quite a few. There's 4 rowan trees here. You can probably see the red berries. Oh, they're gloriously red. Oh, they're fluorescing red in this sun. It's beautiful. And there's this one next to our subject tree, which is kind of just clinging to life. It's windswept and it's wizened. It's a lovely tree. It's so characterful. But again, I don't know that I'm going to get a lot with it. I think the light's too harsh, and I think I can't separate it enough from the subject tree next to it, which is a shame. But we haven't really talking about this shot here, which I do rather like. I mean, it's not perfect because that tree, the rowan tree I was talking about, the wizened one, I can't easily separate it. Yeah, if I pull over here a little more, then maybe. But if we liven up that, I don't know whether you can. You probably only see my reflection. Yeah, we can't see anything. I'll tell you what. I'll put it on screen, and you tell me what you think of it. And I think I like it. I like it quite a lot. It's a focus stack because of my uncertainty of the lens sharpness at really small apertures. So I think we're running about f8, f9 with a focus on this post, then something in the midground and something in the background, and we'll stack those. And yeah, hope you enjoy it. Well, I did find another composition of this tree. Where is it? It's there. Well, I say it's another nice composition. You can see camera here, another portrait style, slinging my bag on the bottom of the tripod to weigh it down because I'm heavily embedded in the roots of the gorse and heather here. And another 2 or 3 shot focus stack. The wizened tree, I can isolate it by moving a little bit further up here, but actually it doesn't offer much. It's far better actually here being used as a kind of pointy line kind of thing, look this way after you've seen me, kind of compositional tool in this shot, which is rather nice. I'm pointing down a little bit, so I'm shooting through the gorse, as you can probably see here, through the heather, and then through the tree, relatively through to the tree, quite high up one way or another. I mean, pretty much eye line, because if I come down too far, you don't get the trunk of the tree, which you need, because although of course you know it has a trunk, if you don't show it, it looks bloody weird, I can assure you. And again, it's not likely to win a Landscape Photographer of the Year award, but it's not bad. I quite like it. It's colourful. Let me know what you think of it. And before I leave this spot, I thought, there's got to be something with a long lens that's going to work from here, hasn't there? I mean, I can't come out pretending that the video is all about the long lens and shoot everything without it. So I've got a long lens shot. It's just looking really at the path and the wall, and yeah, not a lot else to say about it, to be honest with you. It's not a bad shot, but I've been lazy. I mean, I'm often lazy because this is the EM10 Mark III and not the EM1. So I doubt you'll notice any difference. 16 megapixels against 20 megapixels. Dynamic range changed a little bit, but you know, lens was already on it.
Well, I know you're not going to see any difference between my EM1 and my EM10 that this was shot with. I've cropped it to a square anyway, so you'd never really see any difference. Let me know what you think of it in the comments below. And if you think I was panting walking up that hill earlier, there isn't any video of me collapsing at the top of this one.
Looking for something to work with the long lens, and I think I found something. Flip you around. So, you see, right down there we have a rather nice little lonesome clump of heather using the rock formations as framing. It's a rather nice little shot.
This image really didn't work as a full-size portrait, so I cropped it to a square. The full-size one just had too much non-subject matter, so to speak.
I can't believe I fell at the first hurdle. I don't quite know why. Well, maybe I do. I think what went wrong for me was the light, the pressure. Not a lot of pressure, but the place that I walked was something that's kind of eluded me for a while. I mean, I can see it out of the window, the tree down there. Or should I say trees, plural. They're nice. I mean, in this setting, they're nice, but the closer you kind of get to them, the more you realise that you do actually need to be a bit further away and shoot them or it within its environment, rather than trying to single it out close up. I'm not saying I got a bad shot. I haven't looked at it yet. Light didn't work terribly well because all the distance is really kind of hazy. I ended up walking in places where there just wasn't a great deal of composition, or certainly not long shot composition. I'm making excuses. I'm making lots of excuses. I don't know quite why it didn't work for me. I got more shots than I've shown you. I'll put a couple up at the end. But yeah. Out here today, with the light being incredibly flat, the details in the distance are just flat. Yeah, you may be able to punch into them, but they're just flat. Excuses aside, it was a nice walk, but I am ready for a coffee and to contemplate whether I stay another evening or whether I even do another bit of a walking and go to Stannage Edge that way, or whether I just relax for a bit, maybe take a little bit of a nap and then do the 4-ish hours home. Wherever you see me next, there's my decision. Thank you very much for watching. A couple more images coming up. Let me know what you think of them, and we'll see you next week. Thanks a lot.